Your doctor shrugged and said, "Welcome to menopause, this is just your new normal." But what if everything you've been told about managing your hormones was keeping you trapped in a cycle of frustration and decline? I'm Dr. Claire Winslow, and after 30 years of helping women reclaim their vitality, I've discovered that your body has an incredible ability to reset itself naturally. Today, I'm sharing the simple, research-backed methods that have helped thousands of my patients restore their energy, balance their moods, and feel like themselves again. But here's what shocked me most. The one kitchen staple that acts like nature's hormone therapy. Could it be sitting in your pantry right now? Subscribe to our channel and tap the bell, so you never miss these life-changing insights that could transform how you feel every single day. Asterisk, let me tell you about Catherine. At 53, she came to my office exhausted, frustrated, and feeling like a stranger in her own body. She'd been waking up at 3 in the morning, drenched in sweat, unable to fall back asleep. Her moods swung like a pendulum. One moment, she was snapping at her husband over nothing. The next, she was crying over a commercial on television. The weight around her middle seemed to appear overnight. And no matter how little she ate or how much she exercised, it wouldn't budge. "Dr. Winslow," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "I don't feel like myself anymore. I feel like I'm disappearing." Maybe you've felt this way too. Maybe you've stood in front of your bathroom mirror, wondering where the vibrant woman you used to be has gone. Maybe you've tried everything your doctor suggested: hormone replacement therapy, antidepressants, sleeping pills, only to find yourself dealing with side effects that sometimes felt worse than the original problems. What Catherine didn't know, and what most women never learn, is that her body was actually trying to communicate with her. Those sleepless nights, those mood swings, that stubborn weight gain, they weren't signs of failure. They were her body's way of saying, something needs to change, and I need your help. You see, your hormones are like a symphony orchestra. When every instrument is playing in harmony, the music is beautiful. But when one section falls out of tune, the entire performance suffers. For women entering perimenopause and menopause, it's as if the conductor suddenly disappeared, leaving the musicians to figure out the rhythm on their own. But here's what the medical community often misses. Your body doesn't want to be out of tune. It's designed to find balance, to heal, to restore harmony. Sometimes, it just needs the right guidance to remember how to conduct its own orchestra again. Catherine's transformation didn't happen overnight, but when it did happen, it was remarkable. Within 6 weeks of implementing the natural protocols I'm about to share with you, she was sleeping through the night. Her energy returned gradually, like sunrise after a long, dark night. The weight around her middle began to melt away, and most importantly, she felt like herself again. "I didn't realize how much I'd been suffering," she told me months later, tears of gratitude in her eyes. "I thought this was just what aging looked like for women. I had no idea I could feel this good again." The truth is, your hormones can be reset, rebalanced, and restored without a single prescription medication. Your body has an incredible capacity for healing when you give it the right tools, the right nutrients, and the right support. It's not about fighting against the natural changes of aging. It's about working with your body's wisdom to navigate this transition with grace, energy, and vitality. But before we dive into the specific foods and practices that can transform your hormonal health, you need to understand something crucial about how your endocrine system really works, because once you understand this, everything else will make perfect sense. Think of your endocrine system as the most sophisticated communication network in your body. Your thyroid, your adrenals, your ovaries, they're all constantly sending messages to each other, coordinating everything from your sleep cycles to your metabolism to your mood. When this communication flows smoothly, you feel energized, balanced, and resilient. When it breaks down, chaos ensues. Now, imagine, if you will, that this communication network is like a busy highway system. In your younger years, traffic flowed smoothly, messages zipped from your brain to your ovaries, from your adrenals to your thyroid, without any traffic jams or detours. But as you age, and especially as you enter perimenopause, it's as if construction zones pop up everywhere. Messages get delayed, rerouted, or sometimes lost entirely. This is why conventional medicine's approach often falls short. Instead of clearing the traffic jams and repairing the communication highways, it tries to flood the system with synthetic hormones, like adding more cars to an already congested road. Sometimes this provides temporary relief, but it rarely addresses the root cause of the communication breakdown. Let me share with you the story of Linda. a 62-year-old teacher who came to me after struggling with what she called the fog. She'd been on hormone replacement therapy for 3 years, but still felt like she was walking through life in a haze. Her memory wasn't sharp, her energy was inconsistent, and she'd gained 20 pounds despite eating less than ever before. "I feel like I'm taking all these pills," she told me, "but I'm still not myself. Sometimes I wonder if this is just what the rest of my life is going to look like." When I looked at Linda's case, I saw a woman whose body was trying desperately to find balance, but the synthetic hormones were actually interfering with her natural communication pathways. It's like trying to conduct an orchestra while someone else is playing a completely different song through loudspeakers. The breakthrough came when we stopped focusing on replacing hormones and started focusing on restoring communication. Within the first month of implementing natural protocols, Linda noticed her thinking becoming clearer. By the third month, her energy was more stable throughout the day. By the sixth month, she'd lost 15 pounds without changing her diet dramatically, and she felt more like herself than she had in years. "I didn't realize how disconnected I'd become from my own body," Linda reflected. "Now I feel like we're working together again, like partners instead of adversaries." This is the key insight I want you to understand. Your body doesn't need more hormones forced into it. It needs the right conditions to produce and balance its own hormones naturally. It needs the communication pathways cleared and the traffic flowing smoothly again. And here's the beautiful part: nature has provided us with everything we need to support this process. Certain foods contain compounds that act like natural traffic controllers, helping to direct hormonal messages where they need to go. Other foods provide the raw materials your body needs to manufacture hormones in the first place. Still others help clear out the hormonal debris that can clog up your system and interfere with healthy communication. The first food I want to tell you about might surprise you. It's something you've probably eaten countless times, maybe even dismissed as just a sweet treat. But research has shown that this humble fruit contains compounds that can significantly impact your hormonal health, particularly when it comes to managing stress and supporting adrenal function. But before I reveal what it is, let me ask you this. Have you ever noticed that your hormonal symptoms seem worse when you're under stress? That your hot flashes intensify during challenging times? Or that your sleep becomes even more disrupted when you're worried about something? There's a reason for this connection, and understanding it is crucial to your healing journey. The connection between stress and hormonal chaos is more profound than most people realize. When you're under chronic stress, whether it's from work, relationships, health concerns, or even the stress of hormonal symptoms themselves, your adrenal glands work overtime producing cortisol. This wouldn't be a problem if stress was occasional and short-lived, like it was for our ancestors. But in our modern world, many of us live in a constant state of low-level stress, and our adrenals never get a chance to rest. Here's where it gets interesting. Your body has priorities when it comes to hormone production. If it has to choose between making cortisol to deal with stress or making estrogen and progesterone to keep you feeling balanced, it will choose cortisol every time. This is called the pregnenolone steal, and it's one of the main reasons why hormonal symptoms often worsen during stressful periods of life. Picture this. Your body is like a factory with limited resources. When the stress alarm keeps going off, all the workers rush to the stress response department, leaving other departments like mood regulation, sleep quality, and metabolism understaffed. The result? You feel anxious, tired, and out of balance, even if your stress levels don't seem that high to you consciously. This is where our first hormone-supporting food comes in: tart cherries. Now, I know what you might be thinking: cherries, really? But bear with me, because the science behind this is fascinating. Sarah, a 57-year-old nurse, came to me exhausted from working night shifts and dealing with what she called the worst menopause symptoms imaginable. She was barely sleeping, even on her nights off. Her joints ached constantly, and she felt like she was running on empty. Her doctor had suggested sleeping pills, but Sarah was reluctant to add another medication to her routine. Instead, I suggested she try eating a small bowl of tart cherries or drinking tart cherry juice about an hour before bedtime. Sarah was skeptical, but she was also desperate enough to try anything natural. Tart cherries are one of the few natural sources of melatonin, but that's not their only benefit. They also contain compounds called anthocyanins, which have powerful anti-inflammatory properties. Remember how I mentioned that stress creates inflammation in your body? Well, chronic inflammation interferes with hormone production and can make symptoms like hot flashes and mood swings significantly worse. But here's the really interesting part. Tart cherries also contain natural compounds that help regulate cortisol levels. When you eat them regularly, especially in the evening, they help signal to your body that it's time to wind down and shift from stress mode to rest and repair mode. Within 2 weeks of adding tart cherries to her evening routine, Sarah noticed she was falling asleep more easily. By the 4th week, she was sleeping through the night more consistently. But the real surprise came at her follow-up appointment 6 weeks later. "Dr. Winslow," she said, her eyes bright with excitement, "I haven't had a hot flash in over a week, and my joints don't ache like they used to. I feel like the inflammation in my whole body has calmed down." This is the power of working with your body's natural rhythms instead of against them. Tart cherries weren't just helping Sarah sleep, better, they were helping her entire hormonal system find its natural balance again. Now, you might be wondering exactly how to incorporate tart cherries into your routine. The research suggests that about 1 cup of tart cherries or 4 ounces of tart cherry juice, consumed about an hour before bedtime, can be beneficial. But timing matters here. The goal is to support your body's natural circadian rhythm, so consistency is key, but tart cherries are just the beginning. The second food I want to share with you might be even more surprising, and it has to do with supporting your liver, the unsung hero of hormonal balance that most people never think about. Your liver is like the cleanup crew that works the night shift while you sleep. Every day, your body produces hormones, uses them, and then needs to break them down and eliminate them. This process, called hormone metabolism, happens primarily in your liver. When your liver is functioning optimally, old hormones are processed efficiently and eliminated from your body. But when your liver is overburdened from stress, poor diet, environmental toxins, or simply the natural aging process, those old hormones can recirculate, creating a confusing mix of signals that leave you feeling off balance. Think of it like this. Imagine your hormones are like letters being delivered throughout your body. Your liver is like the postal service that needs to collect the old, delivered letters and dispose of them properly. If the postal service gets backed up, old letters start piling up everywhere, and the new letters can't get delivered efficiently. The result is chaos, mixed messages, delayed responses, and a system that feels completely out of control. This is where cruciferous vegetables come in, and specifically, one that many people overlook: Brussels sprouts. Now, I know Brussels sprouts aren't everyone's favorite, but hear me out, because they contain compounds that can literally transform your liver's ability to process hormones. Let me tell you about Patricia, a 64-year-old woman who came to me struggling with what she called estrogen dominance. She'd been reading about hormones online and was convinced that her symptoms, weight gain, breast tenderness, mood swings, and heavy periods, were all due to having too much estrogen in her system. "I've been trying to avoid anything that might increase my estrogen," she told me. "I stopped eating soy, I switched to organic everything, but I still feel terrible. What am I doing wrong?" When I explained to Patricia that the issue might not be too much estrogen, but rather her body's inability to process the estrogen it was producing, everything clicked for her. Her liver wasn't efficiently breaking down and eliminating used hormones, so they were building up in her system like cars in a traffic jam. Brussels sprouts, along with other cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, and kale, contain compounds called glucosin. When you chew these vegetables, the glucosinolates break down into other compounds, including one called indole-3-carbinol, or I3C. This compound is like a traffic controller for your liver, helping it process hormones more efficiently. But here's what makes Brussels sprouts particularly special. They have one of the highest concentrations of these beneficial compounds of any cruciferous vegetable. They also contain sulforaphane, another compound that supports your liver's detoxification pathways. One suggested Patricia try eating a half cup of Brussels sprouts 3 times a week, prepared in whatever way she enjoyed them: roasted with olive oil, sautéed with garlic, or even shredded raw into salads. The key was consistency and proper preparation. Lightly cooking cruciferous vegetables actually increases the bioavailability of their beneficial compounds. Within a month, Patricia began noticing changes. Her mood swings became less intense, and she felt less bloated. By the 3rd month, she'd lost 8 pounds without changing anything else about her diet, and her energy levels were more stable throughout the day. "I never would have believed that Brussels sprouts could make such a difference," she laughed during one of our follow-up appointments. but I actually look forward to eating them now. I feel like they're helping my body clean house. This is exactly what was happening. Patricia's liver was finally able to process her hormones efficiently, clearing out the backlog and allowing her system to function more smoothly. Now, if Brussels sprouts really aren't appealing to you, don't worry. Broccoli, cauliflower, and kale all contain similar compounds. The key is to eat some form of cruciferous vegetable at least 3 times a week, and to prepare them properly to maximize their benefits. But supporting your liver is only part of the equation. The third food I want to share with you addresses another crucial aspect of hormonal health that most people never consider: the health of your gut microbiome. Because it turns out, the bacteria in your digestive system play a surprising role in how your body processes and uses hormones. The connection between your gut and your hormones is one of the most exciting areas of research in women's health right now. Scientists have discovered that certain bacteria in your digestive system can actually produce, modify, and metabolize hormones. There's even a specific group of bacteria called the estrobolome that helps regulate estrogen levels in your body. When your gut microbiome is balanced and healthy, these beneficial bacteria help keep your hormones in check. But when your gut is out of balance from antibiotics, stress, processed foods, or other factors, it can directly impact your hormonal health. This might explain why some women notice their hormonal symptoms worsen after taking antibiotics, or why digestive issues and hormonal problems often go hand in hand. This brings me to a food that can support both your gut health and your hormonal balance: fermented foods, and specifically, kimchi. Now, I know kimchi might seem like an unusual recommendation for hormonal health, but the research behind fermented foods and women's health is compelling. Let me share with you the story of Rachel, a 51-year-old woman who came to me struggling with both digestive issues and severe PMS symptoms. She'd been dealing with bloating, irregular periods, and mood swings that seemed to be getting worse as she approached menopause. "I feel like my body is at war with itself," Rachel told me during our first consultation. "One week I'm fine, the next week I'm bloated, cranky, and exhausted. And it's not just the week before my period anymore, it's like my symptoms are spreading out through the whole month." When I looked at Rachel's health history, I noticed she'd been on several courses of antibiotics over the past 2 years for various infections. I suspected that her gut microbiome had been disrupted, and this was affecting her hormonal balance. Rachel had never eaten kimchi before, but she was willing to try anything. I explained that kimchi contains beneficial bacteria, particularly lactobacillus strains, that can help restore balance to the gut microbiome. But kimchi has additional benefits beyond just probiotics. It's made from cabbage, which is a cruciferous vegetable, so it also contains those liver-supporting compounds I mentioned earlier. Plus, the fermentation process creates additional beneficial compounds that can help reduce inflammation throughout the body. I suggested Rachel start with just a small amount, about a tablespoon of kimchi with 1 meal per day. The key with fermented foods is to start slowly and let your digestive system adjust gradually. Within 2 weeks, Rachel noticed her bloating was less severe. By the 4th week, her energy levels were more consistent throughout her cycle. But the real transformation came after 2 months of consistently eating kimchi and other fermented foods. "Dr. Winslow," she said, her face glowing with health, "I just realized I got through my entire cycle without a single day of feeling like I wanted to hide under a rock. My mood has been stable, my digestion is better, and I feel like myself again." This is the power of supporting your gut microbiome. When your beneficial bacteria are thriving, they help regulate not just your digestion, but your entire hormonal system. Now, if kimchi isn't appealing to you, there are other fermented foods that can provide similar benefits. Sauerkraut, kefir, yogurt with live cultures, miso, and kombucha all contain beneficial bacteria that can support your gut health. The key is to choose fermented foods that are unpasteurized and contain live cultures, and to eat them regularly. But even with these 3 powerful foods supporting your stress response, liver function, and gut health, there's one more piece of the puzzle that can make or break your hormonal balance. And this one might be the most surprising of all, because it's not just about what you eat, it's about when you eat it. If you're finding this information helpful, I want you to do something for me. Leave a comment below with the number 1 if these insights are resonating with you, or 0 if you'd like me to cover different aspects of hormonal health. I read every single comment, and your feedback helps me create content that truly serves you Asterisk, your body runs on an internal clock that's been fine-tuned over millions of years of evolution. This clock, called your circadian rhythm, doesn't just control when you feel sleepy or alert, it orchestrates the rise and fall of every hormone in your body throughout the day and night. When this rhythm is disrupted, it's like trying to conduct an orchestra where every musician is playing in a different time signature. Many women don't realize that their eating patterns can either support or completely disrupt their circadian rhythm. When you eat late at night, skip breakfast, or eat meals at irregular times, you're sending confusing signals to your internal clock. This confusion shows up as hormonal chaos, difficulty sleeping, weight gain, mood swings, and energy crashes. This is where the fourth element of hormonal reset comes in. And it's not about a specific food, it's about strategic timing. Let me tell you about Maria, a 59-year-old woman who worked as a night shift nurse for over 20 years. When she finally retired, she expected her sleep and energy to improve, but instead, she felt worse than ever. I thought once I stopped working nights, everything would go back to normal, Maria explained during our first meeting. But I'm still waking up at 3 in the morning. I'm gaining weight even though I'm eating less. And I feel exhausted all the time. It's like my body forgot how to have a normal rhythm. Maria's situation was complex because decades of shift work had essentially scrambled her circadian rhythm, but the principles I used to help her apply to anyone whose eating patterns might be disrupting their hormonal balance. The key insight is this: your body produces different hormones at different times of day, and eating at the wrong times can interfere with this natural rhythm. For example, cortisol is naturally highest in the morning to help you wake up and start your day. But if you skip breakfast and then eat a large meal late at night, you're essentially telling your body to produce stress hormones when it should be winding down for sleep. I introduced Maria to what I call circadian eating, a simple approach that aligns your meals with your body's natural hormone rhythms. The first rule is to eat a protein-rich breakfast within an hour of waking up. This helps signal to your body that it's time to start the day and supports healthy cortisol patterns. The second rule is to eat your largest meal in the middle of the day, when your digestive fire is strongest and your insulin sensitivity is at its peak. This supports stable blood sugar throughout the day, which is crucial for hormonal balance. The third rule is to eat your smallest meal at least 3 hours before bedtime, and to make it light and easy to digest. This allows your body to shift into rest and repair mode, rather than spending energy digesting food while you're trying to sleep. For Maria, I also recommended what I call a circadian reset breakfast, a combination of protein, healthy fats, and complex carbohydrates that would help stabilize her blood sugar and support her adrenal glands. Her favorite became scrambled eggs with avocado and a small portion of steel-cut oats, eaten at the same time every morning. Within 3 weeks of implementing circadian eating, Maria noticed she was falling asleep more easily. By the 6th week, she was sleeping through the night consistently. But the most dramatic change came after 2 months. "Dr. Winslow," she said, her eyes bright with energy, "I feel like I've got my life back. I'm sleeping better than I have in years. I have steady energy throughout the day, and I've lost 12 pounds without even trying. I had no idea that when I was eating was so important." This is the power of working with your body's natural rhythms instead of against them. When you eat in alignment with your circadian rhythm, you're supporting every aspect of your hormonal health, from stress management to metabolism to sleep quality. Now, I want to share with you one final food that can serve as a powerful ally in your hormone reset journey. This food contains compounds that can help balance blood sugar, support healthy insulin function, and even help your body produce more of the hormones you need for energy and vitality. But before I reveal what it is, I want you to think about this. How many times have you been told that getting older means accepting less energy, less vitality, and less joy in your body? What if I told you that with the right approach, you could feel more energetic and vibrant at 60 than you did at 40?